It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
We've talked about kind of traditional education before. The last stop on the traditional education train is the master's degree.
Yep.
I've always heard, if you get stuck, you feel like you graduated with the wrong degree, just go back to school and get a master's
Get something
degree.
else, yeah.
Is that a good decision?
I think it depends on the situation. It depends on the circumstance. So I'll use a really great example. We had a summer intern in here working with us this summer, and he said, "Guys, I'm doing accounting, but man, I really I like accounting, but I love financial planning. I really want to be a financial advisor. So I know that University of Georgia offers this financial planning program. Hey, I'm thinking, does it make sense instead of me doing this accounting thing? I'll just finish, get my bachelor's degree, and then I'll go back to get my master's in financial planning, and then I'll be ready to come work for you guys. It'll be awesome." And we had to kind of like slow him down and say, "Hey, that's great. That's a wonderful idea, but what are you hoping to accomplish? What's the reason for going to get your master's degree?" He's like, "Well, I want to get a job in financial planning." And we kind of very bluntly asked him, "Are you certain that with an accounting degree and some appropriate internship experience, you could not also get a job with an accounting degree? And in order to get the education requirement to sit for the CFP exam, you could go take classes at night or do online self-study as opposed to going to have back to graduate school?" And he kind of looked at us and was like, "Oh no, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option."
I think, because I think it's, once again, getting education being taken advantage of in some degree, is that we've taken something when people are stuck. All the for-profit colleges really ran rampant with this over the last decade and a half, and I think it's kind of been mitigated because they all kind of imploded upon themselves in a large degree. But it's people were being preyed upon where it was like, just go get your master's. Now, you mentioned the intern. I won't say his name, but his case was a little unique because we have a list of the the degrees with the highest earnings to debt ratios, meaning the ability that you can pay it back the quickest. And you'll notice like number 10 is taxation, which is the same as accounting.
Sure.
And then there are degrees like accounting that require 5 years. I'm one of the last classes that snuck through with a bachelor degree. Yeah, I get all the benefits of being an accounting, graduate with an accounting degree, but I didn't have to go the 5th year like all students do now. And I want to tell you, I think that's good if your career requires a certificate, a designation, and you see all these things. It's basically engineering, computers, and taxation. Those are all things.
A lot of STEM, right? I mean, these are all
STEM things.
STEM
I think that
jobs.
it is perfectly fine to go get your master's in those things. But Bo was spot on. That is, I'm always amazed at people who say, "I'm going to go get an MBA from this big institution in like financial planning or something." I'm like,
Why?
truthfully, I'd rather you go take one of the study at home courses that is substantially cheaper. Sit for the CFP exam. I will hire you much more likely if you've passed the CFP exam than if you have an MBA from a degree, because the CFP exam is going to show me your aptitude more than you going and getting that MBA. So it's just one of those, it's another one of those things I want to caution you. Know the opportunity cost. Go through that checklist that we provided earlier so you know what are you giving up to go spend this money to go do it, because there might be another path. And that's actually a great segue to kind of transition to, that's all old school.
The way the world has changed.
Yeah, everything we just talked about was very traditional with education. You graduate high school, you aspire to go to college. After you go to college, if you still don't know what you want to do, you go get your master's, and on and on and on. And that worked when education, like when I graduated, cost less than $3,000 a year.
Much easier to do that.
Now that we know education costs, we're multiple 5 digits. I think you have to definitely measure twice, cut once, and really look at the scope of what you're doing. And also take a step back and look around and go, the world's also changed. I feel like we are more in a period where it's an idea and skills-based economy. And if you want proof on that, there's a stat that 30% of billionaires haven't graduated college. We all know the story of Steve Jobs didn't graduate college. Right. We know, Mark Zuckerberg didn't graduate college. All these super wealthy people. I don't think Bill Gates graduated college.
I don't know.
I mean, and this is, you start seeing a trend.
But you would argue they have a very marketable
unique skill set. They
That's
have a
right.
skill set. Nobody cares what degree. I mean, that's the thing I find too. Now, I'm blessed. I went to the University of Georgia, but not that University of Georgia is a Harvard or a Yale. But I think when I get in rooms like when Fidelity or others bring me up to Boston to talk to other successful financial advisors, there is not one time that they say, "Hey, Brian, where'd you go to school?"
No.
Because once you get to a level of success, everybody just assumes you
Or it doesn't
did
ma-
something,
yeah.
or your experience or something. It got you over the threshold. Education is your gateway. All you're doing is you're knocking on the door. And you're hoping somebody answers to let you in, get your foot in the door so you can start setting the record of how good you are, how good of a worker you are. And more in this new modern society, if you have an idea that's better than others, if you have a skill that's better than others, you don't have to do the traditional track. It has been announced by Google. It's been announced by Ernst & Young. They don't necessarily require college degrees anymore. I mean, here's what I think is interesting. I just got back from Podcast Movement. We're going to FinCon in the next
Couple
few
weeks,
weeks. And there's a new trend that's going on. There are people who are working for the Googles, I put the because I'm old. But there's people working for traditional companies too that are all working in content creation.
Sure.
Because 92% of businesses are now doing content marketing.
So if you think about it, I want you to rewind back to 2006 when you started this podcast. How many folks or how popular was it for someone to say that, hey, I make a living doing content creation. I'm a blogger. I'm a podcaster. I'm one of these content creators, and folks were making a living doing that. Was it a commonplace at all back then?
Back then it was, like I said, my wife had to go tell my friends not to make fun of me because it's just a weirdo, oddball hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing that I think that everybody needs to recognize. The world has shifted. I'm not saying, go burn schools down. They're worthless. But I do think you now have to, it's back to our checklist. You have to evaluate what are you going, begin with the end in mind. We talk about that concept so much, the 7 habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. What are you expecting to get out of education? In a lot of ways, it might not be the traditional path. Now, look, if you want to be the engineer, if you want to be the CPA, if you want to be the doctor or attorney, those are you're going to have to go traditional, and you will be, rewarded for your perseverance, and you can structure it in a way, just do it as smart as possible. But if you're working in some of these new fields, maybe you don't need to go the traditional track.
Well, and one of the things that's interesting, we kind of started this show talking about how the income you're able to generate ultimately can help you with your wealth building journey. The more money you make, the more you can save, the more wealth you can build. Here's a list of really great jobs that you can go out and get today without a college degree. And this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Air traffic controller. Median salary for air traffic controllers is about $123,000. Nuclear power reactor operator, transportation storage manager, police supervisor, commercial pilot, power plant dispatcher, radiation therapist, elevator installer and repair, detective and criminal investigator, power plant. A lot of these jobs don't require a 4-year degree, and yet the median salaries that can be earned in these vocations is either close to or over 6 figures, which is really, I think, remarkable.
Well, and think about where we are with the economy. We have clients that are worth mega bucks. I mean, I'm talking about, from ranges $20 to $100 million. And some of them have done it by going and learning how to code and do other things. Nobody cares where you learn to code. I mean, can you code?
That's
Did you write something that actually turns out to be economically viable, that somebody comes and buys you out for multiple hundreds of millions of dollars?
Yep.
I mean, these are the things. If you have a child or you're a person, ask yourself, what is a skill set I can learn right now that 5 years from now, after I get my 10,000 hours of studying and understanding, that will be world-class and worth an absolute fortune? And it might be content creation. It might be coding. It might be that you're a great writer and you can build an audience to do that. But just be honest about it. Or maybe you're traditional. Maybe you're, the person that you like numbers and you want to be an accountant or you want to be an engineer. There's a place, just know when, where, and how, and begin with the end in mind, and you can navigate this well.
All right, Brian, so we just heard you, and you said, okay, we're in the skills and this idea-based economy. Well, so I don't need to go to college or traditional education institution, how do I develop those skills? How do I go learn new things? What's unique about this day and age right now that was different maybe 20 or 30 years ago, even in terms of like skills development and self-education?
Well, I think that, I think back to myself in even middle school, high school, and even college when you're trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do for a living? And man, it is the greatest time to be alive because if there's anything you have a curiosity about, you can scratch that itch through the internet. I think about, we have built an entire community where I can teach you to go from $1 to $5 million just by watching the Money Guy Show.
Yep.
And how much do you have to pay for that tuition? Absolutely nothing. And that's the power of the internet. That's the power of everything that's been harnessed. I think about, you can, if you just have a library card, you can go read or listen to about any book out there because it's all digitally available. Think about, I see my daughter because she's now, and this is embarrassing because I consider myself a math person.
Right.
But she's now, since she's a senior in high school, doing the calculus and all the advanced mathematics. She's so smart mathematically. I see her on Khan Academy all the time. If a teacher can't, bridge the gap of knowledge in the classroom, she's going to Khan Academy and seeing if there's some nugget that she can go learn from that. Think about what YouTube, guys, just this weekend, I was rotating the tires on my Tesla. Do you think I did that just off of being super handy? No, I went and watched 3 YouTube videos to figure out how to do it appropriately, make sure I had the right gear for safety, to protect the car. It's the same thing when my wife's key fob quits working. You go on YouTube to figure out how you replace the battery instead of going to the dealership and paying $250 for a $3 battery that you bought off Amazon. There are so many skill sets that you can explore, you can figure out what your passion is, because it is back to, and I talked about this on another show. I had a friend from childhood, one of my best friends I ever met when I was like 5 years old, moved to my brand new neighborhood, and we were throwing dirt clods at each other. But he said, well, what are you doing? Because we hadn't talked to each other in decades. And he goes, what do you do for fun now? And it caught me off guard, and I was like, I write content.
Money Guy Show?
I do the money. This is my hobby. I actually work every day in something I'm so passionate about that I love it. If you can find what you're supposed to be doing, put on this planet to do, whether it's education, whether it's, writing, whether it's designing something, or just being, the best at whatever it is, there are more opportunities now than any other time in history.
And Brian, you put a great quote on here. This is from Henry Ford. It says, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or at 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. And I think that's so encouraging because we live in an age where it is so easy to continue to learn, where it's so easy to continue to add to that skill set. And if you're someone out there and you're curious about personal finance, or you're curious about how do I stretch my dollars 5 to 10% further than my peers? How do I build to a life of financial abundance? How do I allow my money to give me the freedom to do the things that I want to do, when I want to do them, the way I want to do them? We're going to keep loading you up. We're going to keep cranking out the content so that you can take your finances to the next level. If you've not gone out to check our website, you can go to moneyguy.com/resources. We have tons of free resources available that will help pour into your financial education. Maybe you want to know how powerful your dollars are, or how you can turn your grandchild into a millionaire, or how to refinance a mortgage, or what's the correct order of operations to work through my financial affairs. We have all of that available for free so that you can educate yourself.
We screwed up.
Uh-oh.
At the beginning,
Uh-oh.
I told you I wanted to mention, by the way, what do you go to school for so you can get a job afterwards? We're hiring. Guys, go to, and I know on aboundwealth.com we have a career section. Do we have a career section on the Money Guy Show?
Also on Money Guy too.
There's also, if you go to moneyguy.com or aboundwealth.com, we have a careers section on the website. We'd love to have you come work with us. There's multiple positions we're trying to hire for. We're just looking for the right family members to come join us. So come check it out. And Bo was not wrong. The resource, I should have offered up our free deliverable, the Financial Order of Operations. This is completely free on moneyguy.com/resources. There's a gazillion other free things on there too, between refinancing, taxes, I mean, education, we have it all out there. Go check it out. And guys, we're going to keep creating content because this is our passion. This is what we do with our spare time, which, like I said, in front of childhood friends, that sounds a little ridiculous. But just keep coming back. We're going to keep loading you up. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen. Money Guy team, out.